how to say it, that people really have anger and rage against the system since they see themselves, as losers of the system. And this leads to extremism in the form of, for instance, Luigi Magnone in the US shooting a CEO of a health insurance company, and many people cheering for that, right? And so you see how much spite and how much rage and anger there is that leads into violence. And so my question is, to what extent do you actually see real bad leadership, especially since there are a few studies that are even showing that some people in very high leadership positions, they display certain characteristics or character traits of the what's called the dark triad, right? It's
Yeah.
Machiavellianism, narcissism, and sociopathy. So to what extent do you think that's true?
I think it's still rewarded in many systems and structures today. This Machiavellistic and narcissistic behavior of complete over self confidence, excessive risk taking, instrumentalizing people. That this is kind of part of the set of what we think is how you lead organizations in a great way. I think there is still part of this systemic memory. I think it's a systemic problem, but this system has a memory too. And even me, I have that, still that resonance in me that when I see, wow, look, they have been so successful. And I think of a couple of great entrepreneurs that we all know, and they have been, terrible human beings. But because we see this innovation, we see this, what we label success in the world, it heals all misbehavior. And that's why I think this is partly still the case. We have an affinity for this rigorous Machiavellistic system, which doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way, but, it's a reinforcing mechanism through the system. And that's why I said before, we have to challenge more the underlying assumption of what is success, not only for a company or for industry or for a country, but for humanity and for the planet going forward. So my pilot nature says we have to level it up. We have to look at things from, 50,000 feet